Good morning. It is December 14th, 2022. We're halfway through December, believe it or not. I'm Eric Sapanik, this is John Caro, and this is the Gold Spot.
We want to go back a little bit and review some past history that we reviewed with you. We want to talk about the petrodollar today.
Right. So if you're one of our much older clients, you might have actually found us through our publication, the exposure report, when we talked about the petrodollar. But to kind of sum it up real quick, and the reason why we're doing this is there's some really big things that are happening right now. The petrodollar is basically how we continue to have reserve currency status after we went off the gold standard in the 70s under Nixon. So basically the deal or the agreement was, after we went off that gold standard, that the petro nations, Saudi Arabia and us, would always trade nothing but US dollars for exchange of petro, therefore giving us the stronghold internationally when it came to currency exchange. That's what solidified our dollar as a reserve currency up until really this point in time, but a really big change just happened. And John, can you please talk a little bit about that?
Well, yeah. Last week, Saudi Arabia and China signed an agreement, a series of agreements that has a long-term impact on the US dollar as a reserve currency. What they're trying to do is change the game. Saudi has agreed in principle to think about accepting yuan, Chinese yuan, in payment for oil. Hasn't happened yet, but they've been making noises about it for over a year. And the problem is, Saudi Arabia is China's biggest trading partner. And the oil flow has changed. The US is no longer the dominant customer in China. China buys something like 1.7 million barrels a day from Saudi. We buy 500,000 barrels a day. The problem is our current leadership has taken its eye off the ball. They're not reacting. They're doing the same thing they've always done, power politics, not listening, bullying, and they're missing the big change, which is these countries don't need us anymore. And the result is you're going to see an erosion of the power of the dollar as a reserve currency. And you know, it's like taking one support away from a building. It may not fall right away, but when it does, there's going to be chaos, and we're no longer be the dominant force we think we are. And I'm personally concerned. I think that China is positioning itself to make the yuan a gold-backed currency.
And I think that another thing that a lot of people don't understand is, why is reserve currency so important? And the reason why it's so important is because what we do with a fiat money currency system, which means fiat means it's not backed by any gold, it's not backed by anything other than confidence in your government and in your dollar. The big problem is, every country that's ever printed money the way we have, without some sort of backed standard, it always collapses. And the reason why is because it's not worth anything internationally. And if we lose that reserve currency status, that's where our pillars start to fall, because we do need that reserve currency status to keep playing the absolute, in my opinion, ludicrous games that, especially in the last 2 years, that we have been playing. You can't print 60, 70 billion dollars and hand it away for nothing unless you have that type of real muscle, or you need to be the 700-pound gorilla in the room in order to do something like that. And if we're not there, if we're not that currency anymore, I mean, what do you think, John?
Well, this is one of the unintended or unanticipated consequences of the whole green political movement. The rest of the world doesn't operate the way we do. You can't tell a dictator what to do. He's going to do the opposite, and he's only going to do what helps him. And we've continually put the wrong foot forward, and we're paying the price now. Eric, we were right about the petrodollar, weren't we?
Well, I think that we definitely had the right idea, for sure. And I think that people might want to actually revisit that. We actually have 3 different parts to that, because we had been talking about it for so long. But the original one, I think, is definitely one that everyone might want to take a look at, because it explains how the history of the beginning of that petro-backed dollar began. So if you contact us, you can either text us at 480-459-5597, request the petrodollar, you could just put petrodollar in there. We'd be happy to shoot you out a link so that you could just see it right on your phone. Or of course, you can always email us. They can email John here, or you can go ahead and email at contact@spcgold.com. Happy to go ahead and send you out that report, get you in touch with whoever you normally deal with. Obviously, you can go that route, and they'd be happy to send it out to you. But I think that's something that would be very good. And just to kind of sum up, right now, I think more than ever, your tangible assets are going to become something that's more important than you could ever imagine. Your property, your gold, your silver, whatever that might be, tangible, real assets are going to be king down the road with these types of policies and these types of waves that we see coming to our shorelines. Very important, I think, right now, more so than ever, headed into 2023, because even though right now, during the holiday season, sometimes people start feeling like everything's just fine and dandy because of the family and everything else. It kind of makes you feel a little bit better. When it comes to international policies and what's happening right now, things couldn't be more turbulent. So I really think that you want to keep that in perspective. John, if you could end it for us, please, sir.
Well, gold has always been the baseline. Property is there. Focus on things you can control yourself.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a great end to your year, and we will see you in 2023. That's going to be it for John and I for the year, and we will see you again in January.
Have a happy holiday.